What would the world be better off without? There was someone who had the worst case of bed bugs ever seen by an exterminator. They said they scuttled across his TV and sofa in their house. They even carried them on their person out the house. The infestation was so bad, one crawled out their belly button, and at first we didn't know what it was, just thought they had a beetle friend. They lost every single item they owned, right down to the clothes on their back, and they were told to clean and provided a set of clothes and shoes. They were anemic because the bugs were sucking so much blood. This person took the subway and bus. Put me off using public transport too. The thought one could crawl off them and onto you makes me squirm. To this day I still have PTSD about that poor person. Honestly felt so bad for them, but I wasn't allowed to help them by giving them clothes or anything. They were just an uncared for old soul who let things get out of control. My boyfriend and I were in a bad living situation, so at the time, we were living with one of his cousin's friends, helping them pay rent and such. We didn't know at the time, but this place was badly infested. Found out because we found some on the bed. There were some nights we'd wake up and our feet would be covered in them. Yikes. I don't remember what happened, but a piece of our wall broke off a bit, and when we looked inside, the board absolutely black. All bed bugs, all inside the walls, every single wall. Luckily this was several years ago. We didn't have much with us, but we were able to get an actual apartment and thankfully didn't bring any of those suckers in with us. To this day I still have nightmares about them crawling, and if I feel a hair or anything move on my legs I'm so quick to check for those little bastards. I'm not a religious person, but them if I don't pray for their disappearance every day. Ugh. They were in the walls of my last apartment, and I probably had them for months before I noticed. My skin didn't show any bites, maybe because I slept on the farther edge of the bed that wasn't touching the wall, but my so got absolutely covered. Now anytime I see the tiniest tread mark on his skin, I freak the fuck out. It's been 2 years, and any little black lint on the bedsheets or carpet makes my blood pressure skyrocket. You're really never the same afterwards. My jackass maintenance guy said I brought them in from the train, but after talking to another tenant down the hall, who had a horrible infestation in his wall a year later, he told me that a few units have had them, on multiple floors. There was a sizable gaps between the baseboards and floor where I think they were coming out. So I wound up sealing every part of my floor with packing tape. Honestly, that helped so much. Once they weren't coming out of the wall, I was able to kill the remaining ones in the apartment. 24-hour news. To fill the time, they have these talking heads that bleed the super important line that divides news and editorial. They talk just to fill the time. It's garbage. Both CNN and Fox News are guilty of it. I'm not sure how anyone can watch it. I first became a news junkie in 2001 when the towers fell. Then, CNN headline was a 1-hour loop and they'd feed in a new segment when it was ready. So every hour it would change slightly. Not long later they introduced CNN Headline Prime, which was Nancy Grace and the ilk. They really popularized the talk to fill the time bullshit. Now that's all it is. I don't even watch CNN or Fox anymore. I catch my local news in morning with my coffee and listen to Morning Edition on NPR for the national news. Quick rant. But fuck Facebook. We all know about Zuckerberg's privacy violations, but I just need to rant about their parasitic practices. Facebook is considered a system app on Android, so it cannot be uninstalled officially. In order to get rid of it, you have to install USB drivers on a PC. Connect your phone, open command prompt, and type shell then pm uninstall kuser0com.facebook.k10 Even then, it is only removed from the user partition, meaning a factory reset brings it back. Routing the phone is the only way to remove it from the system partition. But wait, it gets worse. A while back, Facebook bought Oculus, the most popular VR headset. Instead of improving player experience in any meaningful way, they started requiring a Facebook account to even use it. Had to scroll way too far for this. The big problem isn't so much that there's not enough news to report, it's that the news channel format has evolved into more punditry than actual reporting. Actual journalism, especially long-form investigative journalism, is expensive and time-consuming. Having some camera-friendly talking heads saying all kinds of inflammatory bullshit for attention doesn't cost nearly as much for how much airtime you get out of it. And of course they're easily replaceable in the event of scandal/controversy/etc. Roger Ailes is dead, and Rupert Murdoch will be there soon, but the toxic cancer on society they created, and its many imitators, will sadly live on. Scabies. Think of bed bugs mixed with scarabs. Yeah, the bug that crawls under your skin from Egypt, and combine that with the voracity of a tick and the size of a mite. Had those for months and still feel little pricks under my skin and in my muscles from the experience. Lucky for me my dad was smart and washed every single thing, got rid of sheets, made us wash every 2 hours every day, and did a whole crusade against them. Never again. Social media. It's become a mass propaganda and manipulation took for disinformation on a truly breathtaking scale. Something like greater than 80% of all the anti-vaxxer propaganda and misinformation, for example, was made by less than a dozen social media accounts. Facebook keeps having to adjust its algorithms because for some damn reason right-wing leaning people exposed to hella amounts of right-wing posts and media tend to start posting neo-Nazi content. InfoWars was nearly entirely social media based, and consistently was rated by the Advance Media Group as the most falsified and extreme right-wing news outlets that had ever existed. China bought 4chan and Reddit. Facebook takes money from governments the world over to shovel your data out. Twitter wouldn't ban the treasonous Cheeto because he brought so much traffic. Social media is responsible for more damage, misinformation, violence, death, and flat-out regression of humanity than anything else. Its propaganda power transcends borders, creeds, skin colors, flags, language, and political ideologies. And the owners know it and use it to farm power, money, blackmail and influence on billions with a B amount of people. From a mail carrier's point of view, Amazon, I get it, it's somewhat fast and cheap and you don't have to leave your house, but for us, it's awful. 75% of my packages are from Amazon, not to mention that it is the last thing we have to sort through before we can start delivering. Sometimes the trucks show up hours later, not at all, with absolutely no communication to us. Then I have to deal with customer complaints about why they didn't get their package that day. I've been sorting mail for 8 years and delivering for a few months now, and not one person I've worked with likes Amazon. Sorry for my mini rant. I need to find a better job, haha. Lots of things. Things suddenly being unable to fit on a shelf that they've been on for years is one of them. I moved a year ago and still haven't unpacked all my books. Why? Well, they don't fit on the shelf anymore. Before I lived here they all fit perfectly. What the hell happened? This is a common struggle with moving. Anti-vaxxers, like seriously, they are threatening not only their own safety but even the safety of their children at some extreme cases. A vaccine saves lives. Take it, and ensure that your child doesn't pass away because someone sneezed on them and their parents were too woke to give them a vaccine. There is no higher world order to fight against, nor is there some fanatical dictator ordering vaccines be made mandatory. It's just humans trying to ensure the survival of the species, all the while combating misinformation from a community that just lowers the world average IQ each year. Jiggers. They're fleas that burrow into the flesh of a person's foot and lay eggs there. If the person tries crawling, they'll go for the knees, hands, and elbows as well. In many cases the victim ends up unable to walk. There's this YouTube channel about jigger removal in rural Kenya, and it's as disgusting as it is heartbreaking. The patients are so poor they can't even afford shoes, causing trypophobia, body horror in all ages. Lawns. They produce nothing. They look archaic, waste a ton of water and land, and their existence stops us from having more vegetation that's friendly with the local environment. I'm actually surprised I Ctrl+F and found no mention of lawns, when lawns are just using land that could be used for something productive or environmentally beneficial. For a water-chugging grass that barely produces oxygen, and only serves to put your weird gnomes and plastic flamingos that no one should like, and if they do, they shouldn't be able to shove it in the faces of everyone on the sidewalk. Misinformation. It seems to me like the vast majority of pain and suffering is the result of people who don't have or understand the right information. Can't solve a problem? You don't have or understand the right information. Can't agree on something? Someone doesn't have or understand the right information. Sudden horrible death. That person didn't have or understand the information they needed to avoid that situation. Giving tax cuts to religions. I have my own beliefs and respect others. But fuck's sake, when someone on TV is telling you to donate money to them so they can fly a private jet because apparently demons own a stake of commercial jets or they close their expensive churches in the middle of a big disaster, we need to really rethink how to tax the living hell out of these for-profit assholes. People not being able to afford houses, food, stuff like that, along with countries and even some places in well-off countries that have most people homeless, if not starving. World hunger. I think the world would just in general be a better place if we came together as a collective species. We have the brainpower and resources to come together as one super society and try to abolish all world suffering, not getting rid of all pain, but all of the things I mentioned above. I feel like we could develop as a society better if we were all together. I've never seen a story where either one has brought two groups of people together. Yes, you have. It's called history. The people droning on and on about how much politics and religion tear people apart are spreading as much of a myth as that which they claim infects humanity. Any respected archaeologist, historian, anthropologist, or even studiers of virology could tell you the exact same. Edgelords trying to grasp at straws to desperately attempt to make their amateurish views relevant in the face of all observations by professionals and academics are not good sources on politics, religion, or really any subject. Fucking childhood terminal cancer. Cancer is horrendous even for an adult, when we can understand it and at least take steps to fill the time we have left with good experiences. But for a child to go through that hell, who has barely begun to live, never had the chance to fall in love or find out who they would be, who lacks the necessary maturity and life experience to even begin to understand and accept such a thing. Go ahead, tell me there is a God that loves humanity. You have no leg to stand on. This is going to be very unpopular. But religion. I understand it helps some, but it seems like it divides more. Like it's one thing to understand the meaning behind each religion and their approach to life and others and the self, but to actually believe it as fact and that